Hey folks, it's been a little while since I just sort of did a random off-the-cuff video, and I wanted to do one today about these really cool literary zines that I've been getting for the last couple of weeks that tie in not only with my love of literature and reading, but also with my love of professional wrestling. As most regular viewers of my channel know, I am a huge wrestling fan. Along with my pal Doc Gregory, I host a weekly live hangout show about wrestling, although it's sort of on unofficial hiatus for the last few weeks, mostly because I shouldn't say mostly, entirely because I've just been really super busy lately and just haven't had time to do it for the last few weeks. But I'm a huge wrestling fan. I have been since I was a little kid. I just love it deep down in my bones in ways that are difficult to articulate to people who just don't get it and think that wrestling is silly and just awful. And, you know, it's difficult to explain to someone who doesn't look at it and see it the same way that you do. But one of the people that looks at it and sees it the same way that I do is a writer and an editor of literary magazines named Colette Arand. And Colette has been publishing these awesome zines that are wrestling promos, transcripts of wrestling promos, but they are lineated on the page so that they look like poetry. And it is really great. This might come as a surprise to you if you aren't a wrestling fan and you don't watch it very often, and you have a sort of a stereotypical and honestly not that inaccurate view of what a wrestling interview sounds like, of what a wrestler sounds like when he or she is giving an interview, hyping a match, or running down their next opponent. Sometimes, a lot of the times, they're not that interesting. They're not that remarkable. There's nothing all that special. But every once in a while, and more often than you might think, a wrestler comes up, whether it's because the promo has been written just so and the words match the personality of the wrestler just perfectly, or because the wrestler has been given the freedom and the creativity and is possessed of the imagination to come up with something off the cuff. But every once in a while, a wrestling promo comes out of some wrestler's mouth that is just phenomenal. That is as good as a monologue that you would see in a play or in a film, or on a really powerful political speech. It's that sort of thing, that sort of oration. And those words of some of those great promos are captured in these zines. And the series, there have been two of them so far, at least two that I've gotten, is called You Have to Deal With Me Breathing, which is such an awesome title. And this is the first issue, and as you can see, the cover image of the first issue of You Have to Deal With Me Breathing is Dusty Rhodes giving one of his classic promos back in the 80s on the World Championship Wrestling show on the Superstation TBS. Actually, that's, if you look in the background, that's actually before it was World Championship Wrestling. This is back when it was still Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling. And Dusty has promos in here, and Dusty also has the title promo in the second issue. That's the cover to that one. The second issue of You Have to Deal With Me Breathing is called Hard Times and Other Promos. And of course, Dusty Rhodes' Hard Times promo is perhaps the most famous pro wrestling interview that anyone has ever given. It's certainly the most celebrated. But there are promos in here from in both of these issues, from Dusty and from Jake the Snake and Ric Flair and people who are sort of known for being great talkers, Macho Man Randy Savage. But there are also promos from people who are maybe not as well known as fantastic talkers, but who still came up with some awesome promos at one time or another, like Blackjack Mulligan or Thunderbolt Patterson, names that might not be as familiar to modern day wrestling fans. Even fans might not know who a lot of these guys are, or women, because there are some awesome promos in here from women as well. I just was paging through as I was talking and noticed one from Luna Vachon. But it's just a fantastic little thing. And if you're a wrestling fan, or you like poetry, or you like independent lit mags, it's really well worth checking these out. And if you want to get your own copy of these issues of You Have to Deal with Me Breathing, I would highly recommend that you go to fearofagghostplanet.com and you can order your own copies. No, I have not regretted ordering mine. I think they're fantastic. And also, the second issue features artwork, not just the lineated poems, but it also features artwork from Box Brown, who really loyal viewers of mine, or people who are just fans of independent comics and such, might recognize, because Box Brown is the artist who did the Andre the Giant book that I did a review video of a couple years ago now. But he's a really cool artist, and he contributed some illustrations to this second issue of You Have to Deal with Me Breathing. Here's one that he did of The Undertaker and Paul Bearer. So it's really, really, really well worth it, and I would highly recommend that you check it out. And I will read to you a little bit of one of the promos, just to give you a taste of it. I don't want to read too much from it, because I would like, if this is interesting to you, I would like you to go and buy one of these, because I think that Colette really deserves to sell some of these, because I think it's really cool, especially if you're, as I said, if you're a wrestling fan. But I'll read a little bit of one of the promos. I'll read a little bit of Hard Times, because that's the title promo of the second issue, and it's probably the most famous. But I won't read it as Dusty. I'll read it like a poem. First of all, I would like to thank the many, many fans throughout the country who wrote cards and letters. Dusty Rhodes, the American Dream, while I was down. Secondly, I want to thank Jim Crockett Promotions for waiting and taking the time, because I know how important it was. Starrcade 85, it is to the wrestling fans. It is to Jim Crockett Promotions and Dusty Rhodes, the American Dream. With that weight, got what I wanted. Ric Flair, the world's heavyweight champion. I don't have to say a lot more about the way I feel about Ric Flair. No respect, no honor. There is no honor among thieves in the first place. He put hard times on Dusty Rhodes and his family. You don't know what hard times are, Daddy. Hard times are when the textile workers in this country are out of work. They've got 4 or 5 kids and can't pay their wages, can't buy their food. Hard times are when the auto workers are out of work and they tell them to go home. And hard times are when a man has worked on a job 30 years. 30 years. And they give him a watch, kick him in the butt, and say, hey, a computer took your place, Daddy. That's hard times. That's hard times. And that it goes on after that, but that's all I'll read. So if you're a wrestling fan, if you're a poetry fan, if this just sounds just weird and kooky and quirky enough to get you interested and make you want to part with $5 each, $5 per issue, then again, fearofagghostplanet.com. I highly recommend it. It's one of the coolest things I've discovered in the last several years of my wrestling fandom, and I highly recommend it. Colette Arand, we don't really know each other, but thank you so much for this. These are awesome. I hope you do more of them, and thanks for just generally being an awesome person to follow and being an awesome fellow wrestling fan to pay attention to. So there you go. That's my random video for the day. Check out the independent wrestling poetry zine, You Have to Deal with Me Breathing. I think it is awesome.